Up and at it very early. Another beautiful day. Another beautiful day. I was going to message you. I'm going to message you. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me. Hold on, let me a second. I'm trying to record my podcast at the same time. I recognized that last week when I did everything, I had recorded this one, I downloaded it. I went to YouTube to upload it and to post it for Friday. And I could have sworn I posted it and I'm looking and I don't see it. So now I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta go find last week's episode. But it did go up on the podcast. So today I have to make sure I check that out. Because today's chapter 16 and 17. The more that I go through this book, it's very, very simple. It's just actionable steps to building better routines and just some feedback on how making these improvements really help us, you know? So I hope you had a good sleep. We're basically at the end of quarter one, which is a blessing to experience, especially at a time like this. So let me get at it, girl. So chapter 17 is how to stick to good habits every day. Big one. This is a big one because honestly, a lot of the times we form good habits in the first place. We've started good habits, but the problem is it's the everyday portion that makes it naturally something that we end up doing for a long term and not just, like he said in the beginning of the book, for a goal or a certain period of time and then we stop, right? So it's how do we stick with good habits every day? And he says, how do you keep track of the habit? So he gives an example of someone who is in business and, you know, every business owner has targets, daily targets that they need to meet. So he was saying that there was a lady who had a jar. Was it a lady or a man? Had a jar, and one jar was filled with paper clips and the other one was empty. And every single day they had a number of people that they had to contact. So when they when they made their phone calls and they met their target, every phone call they would put one paper clip from the one jar and put it into the empty one. Every day a certain amount of paper clips went into that jar. And at the end of the day, they were able to visually see how many paper clips they had put, right? So it was a visual cue that allowed them to see their work being presented in front of them every single day, right? And the more and more that they did it daily, they saw that level of improvement increase. So you said it's satisfying. It shows you that you're making progress. And that's what we like. We are people who like to know that when we're doing something, it's worth it. It's worth our time, worth our effort. You're seeing results. Some things that we do, we may not see the result right away, but at the same time, we want to see something, right? It helps. So you're saying that was one of the tactics that individual had used, and it allowed them to continue and even try to become competitive with themselves to add more clips, so that way they were exceeding their target, right? He also talked about using calendars, journals, measurements, metrics, technology. For me, I'm an old school person. When it comes down to it, I like my pen and paper. I write everything down. Here's my notes. Pen and paper or pencil. Even this one comes down to pencil and paper. But the thing is, I can also convert it into written form after. That's just how I do things. I am not used to using too many apps to do a lot of things. Some people use apps to do their budgeting and stuff like that. I haven't done that yet. I've used an Excel spreadsheet and I found that to be okay. But honestly and truly, I just like my pen and paper. But he says that you got to choose a method of tracking that works for you. So when he talks about calendars, you can have the calendar space and you just check off every single day that you complete a task. And there's that visual cue to say, hey, I did my task today. This is great, right? If you have to write down certain details, like with budgeting, or if it's something to do with eating, then it allows you to go back at it and look and see, okay, yeah, I was supposed to eat so many calories today, but I went over, so I know where I went wrong. Let me correct this for tomorrow, right? I have used a tracker for weight loss at one time, and I found it to be very beneficial because it also had different meals that you can choose. So whatever I ate, it counted the calories, and then it counted down how many calories I had left for the day to eat. And then whatever I chose to eat for the rest of the day, I knew that I could select it from a certain list. You know what, to be honest, maybe I should go back to that app. I need to figure out what that app was, because to be honest, that was very good. But at the same time, that's another way that you can track or measure your progress, right? And stick with it. How to keep habits on track. We want to be able to create consistency. Keep doing the same thing, even though it may not be perfect. I know that a lot of us are perfectionists. We like to make sure that certain details are put together and outlined before we move forward and commit to something. We start to second guess ourselves when we're doing certain things, but those are certain processes that will stunt our ability to keep going, right? So even like myself, I overthink certain things, and I'm trying my best not to do that anymore. I think it's important that I am consistent. Even when I started the Atomic Habits Review, I've never done a book review before. So the first 2 chapters felt fine. And then after I was like, this 3rd chapter, how am I breaking this down? 4th chapter, this doesn't feel like a Natalie way. That's how I started to feel. And then I started to overthink. I started to get deep into my thoughts about when I was a kid and what happened here and there. It was going too far in my thoughts. And then I had to speak to someone who was experienced with doing book reviews. And I said, listen, this is what I'm experiencing. And then they said, hey, you know what? This is what you can do. So I spoke to someone to get some advice, and then it kind of boosted up my confidence. And then at the same time, I wasn't going to give up. I just wanted to know, how can I do this to make me feel more comfortable in the process so I can continue going, right? Habit tracking is extremely important because it's supportive in one of the law of behavior changes, which is to be keep it obvious, attractive, and satisfying. We want to be able to make sure that whatever it is that we want to do, our environment makes it obvious and supportive of our endeavors as well. It's something that is visually, or it feels good when you see it. You like what you're doing, you're enjoying it. And then at the same time, you also get some type of satisfaction when you complete the task, right? So with that said, We got to make sure that we make it obvious, attractive, and satisfying. And that was part of the chapters last week, right? The benefit of habit trap of keeping it making it obvious is we build a series of visual cues. So like I was saying about the jar, taking the paper clips from the one jar and putting it into the next. You're seeing every day that you're doing something that looks good. Yes, I'm seeing progress. Just like I have my gratitude journal, right? I have a journal where I write all my gratitude notes on a daily basis. And when I go into it, some days when it's not even my time to do my gratitude journal, I'll pick it up and I'll just look at the things that I've read. And I appreciate seeing where my thoughts are, so I find it very positive. It also says that research actually shows that people who record activity are more likely to succeed over people who do not track. A lot of the times we think that our memory is something that will serve us as a support for maintaining and staying on task. But the reality of it is, especially the older you get, depending on all the responsibilities that you have, and then some of the tasks that we want to change require, details. We need to be a little bit more detailed to see things on where we are and know where we can make changes and see if the habit that we're changing is even worth it. So that's how you're able to measure it. So it says here that, making sure that you track it. It's supportive of making sure that you are visually able to see your results and know if you're going in the right direction, because sometimes you can revise a habit because you recognized, this habit's okay, but I think I can do something else to support what I'm really my outcome. Just like I said, writing down versus technology. Maybe technology is not the best way for you, or maybe it is a better way for you, right? But when you're able to just at least go through the process of tracking, you will obviously be more aware of what method will work for you. It sparks an urge to continue changing. So when you see, the changes that are happening, when you see the progress that's happening every day because of taking the action of tracking the information, it's only going to encourage you to continue going. So I'm trying to lose weight. I'm going to go ahead and eat right. I'm eating right, everything's good, but then all of a sudden, I take one item that's not necessarily what I would put on my healthy menu because my taste buds want something a little different. And then the next day, I put another thing on the menu that is not conducive to exactly what it is that healthy eating is supposed to look like. And I kind of let those things go. But I still eat healthy throughout the day, but I'm taking 2 additional things that may not serve or does not serve my ultimate change that I'm looking for. And then what happens is when the target is not met and you're not seeing any change, then it's like, well, what did I do wrong? And you forget. You remember the 2 days that you put in, or that one day that you put in those 2 things, and then you kind of did the same thing 2 days later. But because you didn't track it down, you're not really remembering these things. You're just remembering, I was cutting up my vegetables. I did have a good dinner. I didn't have any rice, but you're forgetting about the bread in the morning and the coffee with the sugar in the night. So with that, if we're not able to track it, we're not able to measure where the issue is coming from. We have to be honest with ourselves. And when we track, it allows us to be honest with ourselves. Because, if we are literally trying to make up in our head, or we're not making it up. Sometimes people do make it up. Sometimes we're trying to play it off. But a lot of the times, if you're not tracking and you're not able to reflect deeply and recognize where the error went, then that's when it's like it's an area of denial. But when you are able to track it, that makes you more inclined. Good morning, Maine. How are you? Nice to see you. Thank you for joining. We're talking about habit tracking and the benefits of tracking our habits. It shows progress on a daily basis. It keeps us motivated to keep going. It allows us to be honest with ourselves when we are making certain changes. I was saying that some people will use technology, calendars. Some people will be writing things down to track. It all depends on what method works for you. You have to find what you're comfortable with. And if whatever method of tracking that you're using is not working, change it. Feel free to change it, but just don't stop doing what you're doing, right? When we have those moments, we are thrown off of not feeling excited. So those moments where we're not tracking things and we're not seeing progress, working out, I think, is one of those things where it takes quite some time to notice a difference. And it's even harder to notice a difference when you're on the scale, right? Versus some people say, don't worry about the scale. Maybe it's inches. That might change. You're going to notice a shift in your body that way. You know what I mean? Keep going. But at the same time, that's one of those habits that take a little longer to see the results. So you got to find a way to keep yourself motivated in the process. And that's why they say make it satisfying, make it obvious, and make it attractive, right? So when you guys see, I purchased Chantel Dubois' workout gear. 1, I'm supporting a Black-owned business. 2, I love the way it fits. And 3, I want to put on something when I'm working out that looks good, that makes me see my body and visualize even more the form and the shape that I aspire to have as I work the body down, right? And it's affordable. Now, it keeps me motivated as well. I look stylish in the process. I like that. Habit tracking it allows us to see where we've come from, and we may feel less likely to come off the streak that we're on. So when he talked about having a calendar and writing the X's on the calendar, when you see that you've completed something for like 20 days, that's satisfying, right? You're actually able to say, yes, look at me go. I'm so proud of myself. You know what? Today I don't necessarily feel like doing it, but I don't want to ruin my streak. I got to keep going, right? So that's another thing, another benefit of habit tracking. Habit tracking, we talked about it being satisfying. And we talked about us being people in previous chapters. We talked about us being visual people, right? So it's important to do things where you can actually see results, not think the result. Seeing it is imperative. We're on Discord, you know what I mean? And when we go on Discord and we write our affirmations, we're with the Create Fate team, and we have a bunch of people on there just writing positive messages on a daily basis. We're more or less consistent, sometimes falling off, but at the same time, we have reminders from each other when we get the notification. It's like, oh gosh, jump on. Yes, I have to send my positive message. When you put that into the group and then you breed positivity from others, then it also makes you feel encouraged to keep going, right? So that is another thing. It may feel like a burden or tedious sometimes to track, right? And that could be a feeling. because I do know for myself at one time, especially when it comes to meals, right? When it comes to meals, writing down what you eat every single day, I find that to be a process. So I just got reminded of an app that I had used before. And for something like that, I wouldn't be writing it down anymore. I would use the app because the app has everything on there. It calculates the calories right away. So that's a system that's built there to make life easier for me. All I have to do is make the right choice, right? When it comes down to finances. Now, obviously, I always talk about finances on my page. Good morning, Shipskoki. Good morning. I'm just talking about habits, habit tracking, making sure that we're keeping ourselves accountable and able to measure our progress as we go on a daily basis. We have to make it attractive, satisfying, and measurable, right? So we're talking about measuring your money, right? So long since I wrote down what I've eaten all day. Yeah, you know what? You can use an app for that. If you don't even want to do that, use the app. I'm going to convert to the app, honestly and truly. As for money, we're talking about having a book on the side, and you write your expenses, your income, and whatnot. No problem, Shayna. You know what? You're always giving tips, so we got to do a little something. But I've never used an app. Has anybody used an app to do their expenses? Actually, Shayna, I know you have, but it's 12:54 p.m. It is 5:53 a.m. in Toronto, Canada, in Ontario. So thank you for joining us. That's nice. You're in Kenya. You're up late. So has anybody used an app for calculating their expenses, their income and expenses? I'm actually thinking of doing that this time around. I know I'm gonna have my book on the side just in case, because it's a habit that I have. But I want to try. I've heard about the Mint app, and then I don't know of any other apps for tracking. I know that you can do everything, just leave it from your bank account and go ahead and go through that. But I think I still always have a book on the side where I write things down. If anybody's used an app, please put the app inside of the chat and let me know so I can check it out. Okay? Automated systems, right? This is where it's talking about everything's already recorded for us. So all we got to do is just go in there and do a review. I have used an app before for research, but I prefer paper and pen. Old school, man. Can't go wrong with that. When technology fails, because what if something happens? A lot of the time, I'm tech savvy to a certain extent, but I'm not necessarily to a high level where if I lose something, I'll find it easy to locate it. So that's my thing with technology, is the fear of maybe losing it and then I'm thrown off, right? So that's why I like my pen and paper. I got my book. My book stays in a certain place and then I use it, and it works for me like that, Hold on one second. I have to pause this for a second. Yeah, so what does it say here? Talked about that. So he said use the habit stacking method along with habit tracking. But I like to automatic payments for my bills. Oh, do you do that? See, interesting enough, some of them I do automatic payments, and then others I just do the internet banking, right? For my bills. But at the same time, I think, these because you want to make sure, one, it's paid on time, right? You can write your bills into your calendar. That's how you can make sure that you're paying them on time and stuff. But if you're a person that's not writing things down and you're expecting to go off of memory, and a lot of the times we're like, what day is it today? Hold on, today's the 10th or is it the 12th? And it's like somebody says, no, it's the 13th. Oh my gosh, I was supposed to pay. That's why late payments happen and all sorts of other situations come up on top of it, which throws you off course. So honestly, automatic payments is definitely a good way to make sure that you're paying bills on time. And at the same time, hey, it's there within the system. You see it, you get it done, all good. Versus old school method, sometimes I have to pay my phone bill. I'd walk over to the store it's down the street. So I just go over there and just pay the bill. But the thing is, I gotta have the receipt, then I gotta put that inside of this folder, and then I gotta write that down. No. If I do automatic payment or email transfer, it's there. But even with the email transfer, I still have to go in and physically do that transaction. How if you do automated payment, then it just comes out on a certain day every single month, and you know that it's done on time. Eliminating late payments, bad history, and whatnot. Here dealing apps, it's so demoralizing why we don't have that big money to spend around. But when you ask for a statement, you will be shocked. You will find a big figure which you have never hold it in your hand. Very distressing. You know what? Oh my gosh, that story. So that happened to me once. Actually, not once, twice. So you're saying you have your bank account and you know that you don't have that much money in there. But when you go to the automated system, it shows you a large sum of money that you cannot get access to. Well, it's not yours in the first place, but the automated system is showing you a different number. Well, that's something to do with the system there. But here, I do notice there's a certain time of month when you go into your bank account. And I don't know if Maine or Shayna, you guys have noticed this. You go to your bank and then you'll see like $10,000 in the account. Have you guys ever seen that? Well, I remember being young and in my teens, and I went to the bank machine to do a withdrawal, and I seen like $12,000 in the account. I'm like, what the hell is this? Why do I have so much money in my bank account? So I stood there and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. I left the bank machine and I didn't do anything because I was just nervous. I went back later on, and probably like later on in the afternoon, and the money was still there. The money was still in the account. But I don't know what it is on the bank's end, because if I was fresh and I tried to withdraw from that big amount, which I know doesn't belong to me, that's problems, right? That's fraud. They'd be like, they probably come for me, I guess. I don't know. But those things do happen, and that's why sometimes technology is not always the best. But what do you do, right? I understand, like, you're living in Kenya, so your means of making income is very difficult. The conversion of your dollar may be difficult, but one thing about having good habits and making sure that you're able to create balance is living and working within your means. So that way, whatever money you get, you will be able to have it serve you for the things that you need as you make a plan to go for the things that you want. So I don't know if there is another way for you to increase your income, if you have other jobs that you can apply for, or if you have a special talent that you can use where you can gain another source of income. But, even here in Canada, it is very expensive for certain things, right? Especially because you have a lot of products and products out there that are enticing, right? And you think you need them, but you really don't. But it's the convenience, it's the attractiveness, it's that woo woo woo. Sometimes it's trying to stay up with modern lifestyles that put us in the mindset where we feel we need certain things and we need more money to do certain things. And it's not necessarily that. Sometimes you got to live where you're at until you're able to level up. And then at the same time, even when you level up, it's definitely having good habits to maintain creating a balance of knowing where your priorities lay. Making sure that you are, like here, I don't know about what life insurance is in Kenya, but here we have life insurance. We're keeping our debts low by doing something like what Shayna said, making automated payments, doing like this gentleman is talking about, tracking our expenses, right? To make sure that we are on top of our stuff. That's how we'll eliminate even incurring debt. Living within our means, knowing what our income is and the type of expenses that we have, right? Is it a want or a need? Is it something that I can go without for a little bit? Where can I sacrifice so that way these things can be prioritized? And then starting to invest. Oh, what I meant is here we earn less, but if you do a calculation, if you were using electronic app, someone sends you money here and there for support. But when you do okay, I understand what you're saying. So when you get, like, someone sends you money to help the conversion, so that's the foreign exchange, the dollar amount. What do we do with that, right? I can understand how the conversion would be very hard, but it's also very hard on the sender's part as well, because God knows they want to be able to help you and help you by maximizing your earning, right? But at the same time, there comes that thing where it's like systems, governments, corporations, they're looking to... Good morning, Trey, how are you? Because we're just talking about habit tracking today, writing everything down, automated systems, pen and paper, using apps to help you track your goals. It all depends on what you feel most comfortable doing. Doing the option that is most convenient to you. If you know that you're a person who doesn't like fine details, right? Find an app that will serve your needs. We were talking about financial, right? Financial habits, having automatic payments coming out. That was a suggestion in the chat, because automatic payments allow us to stay on track, right? Make sure our payments are made on time and it's not delayed, leading into late payments, leading into delinquent accounts, then going into debt. So after I was talking about the tiers of making sure that we have a solid financial portfolio, we have the investments, right? And even investments in itself is another activity, right? Action that we take. But when we're talking about measuring and seeing it grow, it takes longer, right? There are some where, people talk about crypto. I don't know crypto, but I do know that investments is something that you should look into as a long-term thing. Kindly help me deal with this because it really distressing. I spend more than what I earn due to being responsible. You spend more than you earn. What I earn due to being responsible. Well, what you need to do is prioritize, right? I can only help you by suggesting that you take a moment to sit down and really think about what you're spending your money on. If you're spending more than you earn, you have to scale back. You have to become disciplined and committed. I had claimed bankruptcy when I was young, right? I had gained poor financial habits. It did not make me feel good. It was distressing to me. But at the end of the day, I had to make a decision. Nobody came to me and said, Natalie, you have to change this, because honestly and truly nobody really knew my situation because I kept it to myself. I had to make a decision for myself, Ships, to decide this is not how I want it to be anymore, right? And interesting enough, the same income that I had that I felt was not enough, and I had borrowed money outside to maintain a certain lifestyle, I had used that same money to maintain my lifestyle as I should, take care of my household responsibilities as I should, by literally writing everything down, what was important and needed to be done. And then I looked at what was left. And then I decided to make sure that anything was left was what I used to go towards my debt. In your situation, you're saying that you are spending a lot more on things that you don't necessarily, you're overspending. Well, then you need to look at what are you overspending on and how important are these things. Because unless you decide to get another income to help you be able to support these other things that you need, even though your income is not high, well, then you're going to be in a position where you're just repeating a cycle. So it's a decision that you have to make on prioritizing your wants and needs. And even when you increase your income, you still need to be able to do that, because if your income goes up and you're still not looking at tracking and making sure that you're responsible with whatever you have, then you're going to continue to be in the same position over and over and over again. It says start tracking your finances. If you are spending more than you earn, then you will have to reduce expenses or increase cash flow. So exactly. You just need to make a decision. But even if, like I said, even if you increase your cash flow, you never know. You already have a habit that you're spending more on stuff. What are these stuff? Figure that out, and then give yourself a time period to say, you know what, there's no spending on extracurricular stuff. That means I'm going to have to make a sacrifice, right? So I hope that is something that can help you, and I hope that you do take the time to really reflect on what it is that's not working for you, so that way you can actually, no problem, that you can actually see the progress. Because I'm telling you, like, I literally took not even 9 months to pay down 90% of my debt. And that was just really through, I was committed all the way, because I knew that I wanted to see the change, and I was tired. You have to become tired with your situation at some point and say, I don't want this anymore. And not to say that I'm not going to get to the point where my income comes up and I feel good to be able to spend a little here and enjoy here and there. But I knew that I needed to take a certain time frame to say no more of that, because I was enjoying myself for a long period of time. Right? So if it took me a little period of time of sacrifice to be able to do it, then no problem. It's all about sharing knowledge. We can change the world by sharing experiences. Oh, 100%. Yes, we can. 100%. So, let's talk about lost days. Lost days. You know, when you have a habit and it's like you wake up in the morning. Well, this 5:30 a.m. Let me talk about this 5:30 a.m. deal. So when I said I was going to do, I want to change my lifestyle. I want to get up early in the morning. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. No problem, because I want to be productive. I want to have some time alone. I want to journal. I saw all the benefits of what I wanted to do. And then all of a sudden, it was working. I was in a groove. And then I work shift work. So there are some evenings where I get to go to bed nice and early for my 5:30 a.m. wake up. So I get to bed around 10:30, 11. That means I have a good night's rest. I get up at 5:30 and I'm ready to go. But then there's some days that I actually work till midnight, which means I'm not going to get to bed until about 1 o'clock. To wake up for 5:30? So I miss a day because I push it, right? But what happened when I did that, I recognized a few things. The next day, when I have my structured morning set up to get up, do my devotion, write my affirmations. In the mornings, I help my other half. I make breakfast, say goodbye, and then I have all this time to myself before the rest of the household wakes up and the noise starts. But because I didn't wake up at 5:30 a.m., my gosh, my day was thrown off. Well, not the day, but the morning portion was thrown off. I missed 2 of the relaxation activities that I use for myself. I don't like that. I didn't like it. But at the same time, we have to recognize that life is going to come at us. Life will come at us and things will change. So the only way to keep going is not to beat yourself up. If you miss a day because life happens, then don't miss another day. You have to get back on the beat the following day. Only miss 1 day. Because if you miss 2, then you are developing a whole new habit. 1, you may revert back to the same habit, or you might develop a worse habit. So, missing a day, things will happen, circumstances will arise. You miss it, don't feel guilty. You know what? Just acknowledge within your head and be mindful that I didn't like that I wasn't able to commit to what I wanted to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure tomorrow I wake up. You know what I mean? And I'm really, really speaking to myself in the mornings because I honestly really I do enjoy the 5:30 start. I was a night person before. I used to go to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning and then have to wake up at 7 o'clock. But then I was groggy, moody, not productive in the day. I didn't have the energy, right? It was too much. So I like what's happening at 5:30. I shall make sure that when I think to sleep in, I tell myself, you're messing yourself up. Do you remember? They're all going to come for you. They're all going to distract you from doing your devotion. You're not going to be able to do your affirmations, and then after, what about your exercise? Girl, get going. So just remind yourself why you enjoy doing whatever activity you are doing, and make sure that you are not hard on yourself if you miss a day. Now, chapter 17, he talks about having an accountability partner. So, I'm an accountability partner. Hey, I love it. I love the process. You can have a paid accountability partner, or you can have someone that you know as your accountability partner. It all depends on what you choose and what it is that you're doing. Now, with finances, having someone who is not in the financial industry as your accountability partner could be okay, because what you can do is have your financial advisor go through certain things with you and make sure you understand what it is that you're setting up, know where it is that you need to work on things, and then after that, it's more about, keeping on track and staying motivated and having someone say, hey, did you do this? Did you do that? They're just reminding you, and you guys are holding each other accountable, right? But then when you have an accountability partner who is a professional within a certain industry, that person is able to go into a different level of discussion, expectation, and then also helping to guide you through the process of where you may be experiencing challenges, right? Thanks so much, but I beg to go to do something next time. Good. Thank you for joining us. Okay, I appreciate you. Hold on, let me screenshot your name. Look out, I'll DM you. Thanks for joining, okay? Take care. Yeah, so having an accountability who's a professional, you know what I mean? They can go into the who, what, when, why, how, and then also speak about emotions, certain feelings, certain other experiences that they know from other people to keep you going, right? They say that there has to be some type of measure. What is it that, what's the punishment if you don't actually commit to whatever it is? There should be some type of recourse to not meeting your target when you have an accountability partner. To be honest, I don't do that because I feel that me speaking to people alone and asking certain questions makes them kind of know what they need to do. I don't necessarily have to have a recourse. I don't know how I would manage to do that because I'm not into punishing people. I mean, ultimately, if it is your goal, I would like to know that you are committed to do it, and I will encourage you to do it, but I am not going to make you feel bad if you don't do something. I will encourage you as much as I can, right? If it's a client, you're paying me, right? If we're being paid to do a transaction and you are not following through on your part, you're losing your own money, which means I think that most people don't want to lose their own money. So if you have an accountability who's there and a partner that's there and they're helping you through the process, you're going to stay on top of whatever it is you're doing, and you'll feel encouraged. Sometimes when you have an accountability partner who's a friend, after a while that person might get tired of asking you, you know, are you doing this? Are you doing that? And you say, no. They're going to leave you alone because they be like, listen, I got to work on my own stuff too. So I don't know. I don't have time to really follow up as much. They may ask you a lot less. So having there's benefits to an accountability partner. Find somebody who's understanding of what it is that you're trying to accomplish, is able to listen, provide suggestions, who you can trust, and basically helps you to not procrastinate, right? So it gives you reminders, not waits until a deadline and says, oh, did you do such and such? You want somebody who's going to be like, listen, I know this is a deadline. Here's a little reminder. Did you check up on it? And then it allows you to be like, oh yeah, I have looked into it, or I am looking into it. Thanks for that reminder. Boom, boom, boom. Be that person for the other person as well if it is between friends, right? When you have an accountability partner, it says that, you know, you don't want to come across as lazy or untrustworthy because our word is our bond, right? You want to know that you're meeting that target. I said I was going to do it, and I got it done. People like that. I want to know that you see me or I see you with good character. Not every time that I ask you to do something or you're asked to do something or if there's an expectation to do something, it's always, oh, I forgot. Oh, I didn't do it. Oh, people don't like that. People don't like that, and other people don't want to be seen as that, right? So having an accountability partner is a benefit. Where there were the days where you can sit and meet with people, but nowadays everything is through the internet, technology. So however you have to meet with a person, schedule the appointment, make sure that you slotted enough time, be honest with your situation, so that way, you know what, the honest discussion will allow you to plan around exactly what it is that you have to work with, so you will be able to see the results that you're looking for. When we exclude information, then we're doing a disservice to ourselves, right? So it's just making that decision once again. Do I really want this? Am I prepared for what it is that I'm set out to do? And if you are, move forward and don't waste your time, because honestly, change, it doesn't have to take long. We have to be patient in the process, but it doesn't have to take forever. So it's just starting, developing, changing, being happy, and moving forward. Teaching our children to do the same thing, right? Once we make these changes, it becomes part of our lifestyle. The people within our lives will see the change. They will benefit from the change. They will also learn from the change and be able to apply it themselves, right? So that was chapter 16 and 17 of the Atomic Habits, habit tracking, making sure that we do that to be able to measure our results, and then when necessary, getting an accountability partner, so that way we can make sure that we have someone to keep us on top of our assignments, and then also who is able to even shed light on the experience to help us overcome certain barriers, right? Think about and talking about certain emotions that we experience in the process. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me today. You know, we're coming down to the end of Q1 for 2021. I am so happy. I'm so pleased with all that has happened within the first quarter of 2021, even though we're in a pandemic and life is so full of so many things around us. I feel that there's a lot of people out there doing great things, and I just want to see more growth and continued support in the process. All right, we are conquerors. You guys have yourself a blessed day, okay? I'll see you guys in next Wednesday. Blessings.